Austin, Texas to the Old Dominion on a 155cc scooter. Let's talk about that. Let's get cracking. Good moto morning, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Kraken's Garage. Today we're going to do a fireside chat. I'm your host, Eric, and we're going to talk about, I don't have any video in this one, and this is a scooter story, so before all you Harley guys tuck tail and run, this was quite the adventure. It was, as I often say, the definition of an adventure is a disaster that worked out. This was a flying ride to go out to Austin, Texas and ride my Vespa back home to Virginia. I'm rocking HD Vibe hat, and I've got my favorite coffee mug from Moz 42, and I've got my fire going. It was almost 0 degrees in the garage when I came out here this morning, so we've fired up the old wood stove, and it's got it up to 60 degrees Fahrenheit now already in here. Love it. Let's get to the story. So my scooter thugs have had a long wait for me to put some scooter content out there. So Mark, Sam, Colby, Steve, this one's for you guys. Most of you have already heard this story, but I don't have any videos, so I'll just be able to show static pictures that I took along the journey, and we'll talk about how this all went down. Basically, on April 17th, 2017, I booked a flight from Richmond to Austin, Texas, to pick up the scooter of my dreams, the Vespa 946. Many people say, my God, Eric, you're nuts. What are you doing this for? And my brother-in-law, Phil, and I have talked about this several times, and when you get older, you start to realize you only have so many more adventures in your life, and I've been there and done that on a motorcycle so much, I wanted to accomplish some personal goals on a scooter. So that's why I did it. So I've talked about the Vespa 946 in a previous video. We'll just summarize it and say it's a rare scooter and an expensive scooter, so it's a very unusual bike that I've had the privilege of owning, so I won't go into detail on that. But let's just say it's a scooter of my dreams, and it was worth the trek for me to go get it. I'll have a link to the video up here somewhere if you're interested in learning more about this particular unusual bike. 3, 2, 1, and go. It's 4:30 a.m. and I just boarded. Funny situation, you're allowed only 2 carry-ons on the airplane. I have a backpack, a dry bag, and my helmet. The check-in gal at the counter, was busting my chops, so I said, can I wear a hat on the plane? She said, sure. So I had to wear my helmet boarding to avoid having to check it in, and needless to say, I had a few horrified stares at me getting on the plane. So day one, 360 miles, and sadly 300 of those miles were in the pouring rain. On the previous day, I caught a red eye. I flew into Austin, Texas, and within 10 minutes, Colin from AF1 Racing out of Austin, Texas. Wonderful dealer. If you get a chance, go by and check them out. My gear at 𝕐𝕠𝕟. I was really stressing about checking in a bag and it not making the destination. Both bags are my life support on this journey. If you're into Italian bikes, this is the place to go. And I actually got to throw a leg over a Moto Guzzi Eldorado, one of my favorites that's on my wish list. They had quite a few vintage bikes in there, completely restored, just amazing place. They finally wheeled out my bike from the back, and I got to lay eyes on her for the first time. She looked absolutely amazing. So while I'm jury-rigging the nav and the rear rack, while they get the paperwork ready, I'm greeted by some of the staff and customers milling about and asking me if I'm the nutcase riding a puny scooter back to Virginia, and I said, damn skippy I am, and I'm proud of it too. I think that speaks volumes for me. I sign on the dotted line, take the hero shot with Colin, and I start my journey off in the rain with 9 miles on the clock. A massive storm front is rolling up on me quickly, so I don the rain gear and get the heck out of Austin as best I can. I slabbed it to escape Austin on the freeways, and then took some surface roads here and there. It's a very angry sky chasing me every inch of the way. I tried to get a picture of my bike. I crossed these railroad tracks and I wanted to get a scenic, notable shot of the bike with the railroad tracks in the background, to the vanishing point. But this lady with her German Shepherd, the German Shepherd kept chasing me around on the scooter. So there you go. And I love the overhang trees. It was just unusual. I had never really spent any time in this part of the country, so it was very cool to see Texas. As I'm exiting these side roads, I happen upon this, a washed out road. I mean, pouring water over top of it. So I hop off the bike and tried to sidewalk surf to see if it was mossy. When I looked, it was mossy, to see if it was slippery. So it wasn't too bad, so I risked it, and I put my man pants on, and I did some ADVing across this stream here. There was an awesome 6-inch rooster tail shooting off the back of my rear wheel. An epic moment on my first day or ownership of the 946. Here's some random shots. You can see earlier pics that the Vespa came with a complimentary rain cover for the leather seat, and it's stowed nicely underneath the seat with a toolkit. I should note here that the gas cap is an absolute work of art, but it is the worst gas filling bike I've ever had in my bike. It has a very narrow spout on it, and when you fill it up, it just sprays out and trashes the bike with gasoline every single time. So you have to sit there and put it in little by little to top it off. So there you go. As you can see, I'm a numbers guy, so my top speed for the day was 69 miles an hour. The rated speed for this bike was 57, so I was rather shocked to see those kind of speeds. Must have had a strong wind and been rolling downhill at the time. Bugs were just unbelievable. I don't know how to explain this. I've never experienced it. After every rainstorm, they came out in droves and just smashed into me by the pound. Apparently, they're called love bugs in Texas, and now I know why. About every third one was doing the bump and grind thing. I flicked these two porn stars off of Bella in a hurry. So I rolled out of Texas into Louisiana and crossed over a massive bridge that went over Lake Charles, and it was starting to get dusk. At this point, I had been up since 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was now going into nighttime, so I was flat worn out. Bella and I have been rode hard and put away wet on this very day, so it was time to start thinking about a hotel. This concludes day one, and I went to a reputable hotel, and I was worried about the bike. I don't know what area I'm in or if there's a theft problem and that kind of thing. So I walked inside and talked to the front desk clerk. For those of you that travel, take note. Just go in and talk to the front desk, and usually they'll let you park right by the front door, as long as you're not blocking the front door. And they'll keep an eye on your bike for the staff that's working the night shift that night. So bear that in mind. So at this point, I'm at the Vespa dealership in New Orleans. I'm uploading all of this as best I can on the fly, sitting in their showroom. Day 2, 317 miles, total miles 677 cumulative. I got up early and had a light breakfast, anxious to get back on the road into New Orleans and on time for my first service. So I hit the road at 8 a.m. sharp, allowing 4 hours to get there, with an extra hour padding. So I jumped on Interstate 10, and within an hour it was gridlock. I lost 1.5 hours time getting underway on that leg, making me late to my service appointment. Wow, the bridges in Louisiana are just incredible. I traveled over so many of them. Some of them just went on and on and on for what seemed like 20 miles at a time over this swamp area. Today was very windy, and I was getting tossed around quite a bit, but managed with no harrowing incidents. It did raise the hair on the back of my neck a few times going over some of those really tall bridges when I got in that wind. Here's a couple of pictures of one of them. I finally beat my way into New Orleans. The old homes, architecture, canopy trees were amazing and definitely gave you a feel of the French Quarter of New Orleans. I especially liked the old school trolley cars that were still operational. I made it to Transportation Revolution for my first 600-mile service, just a little short at 572 miles. The service writer, Kat, was very understanding and accommodating, despite me being just about an hour late for my appointment. And Most of their staff at one point came out and greeted me at some point or another. The owner came up and greeted me and had a genuine interest in what I was doing with a Vespa. Folks, please vote with your dollars and keep your motorcycle shops open by buying your accessories and getting your service and your service parts and whatever. There's just not enough around, and again, I'm an advocate for the dealers as well. They did an amazing job and I was back on the road in no time. So here's a few pics of this dealership and some of the bikes they had in there. It was an absolute candy shop to be in there, and I was drooling over a lot of really cool bikes. So I hope you enjoy those. Just an amazing Ducatis, heck of a selection of Vespas if you're into that type of thing. They had kind of a rare one. They had the Armani version of the 946. My bike was a year or two old, leftover. This was a newer variant, and what was unusual about it is it had a matte black paint job with green metal flakes in it. So it had a sheen to it unlike any other bike I've ever seen. It was amazing. So if you ever get a chance and you happen to be in New Orleans, please swing by this store. They're just an incredible dealership and the staff is amazing. I cannot recommend them enough. That's my scoot hiding in the back being worked on. You can't even see it actually. Something notable that was kind of in their showroom is Uber was soliciting for scooter riders to do deliveries, which I thought was kind of funny. So they were kind enough to let me stow my gear behind the counter while I ventured out for a bite to eat. I found a burger joint and got a quick bite to eat while I was waiting. I don't know what was up with the dark side beer taps, but I thought it was funny and kind of interesting. So I bailed out of New Orleans. I did want to hang around New Orleans, but I'm in this for the ride, not to see the city. So I'm saving my time to thoroughly enjoy the Blue Ridge Parkway. I crossed into Mississippi, 3 states in 48 hours. I thought that was kind of cool. My was killing me on one stop, so I just snapped a few scenic pics, nothing notable. I settled in at Hattiesburg, Mississippi for the night. I earned a tall beverage and a hot shower. I didn't cover much ground today, but most of it was grinding into New Orleans to get the bike service, grinding out of New Orleans to get the heck out of the city. I'm kind of glad to get that chapter behind me at this point. 686 miles on it and 1,019 miles to go. As usual, I parked it in front of the entranceway again and tipped the front counter person $5. So, day 2. I should note that I used an app called Glimpse, G-L-Y-M-P-S-E. You can find it on Apple as well as Android. And what it does is it tracks you in real time going down the road. And you can send a link to your friends and relatives or whatever. And this proved to be very comforting, as I had posted on ADV Rider this whole thread. And many people kept track of me. I felt like I had some people in my back pocket on the entire trip, as they knew where I was at, and it was comforting for my family. One of my friends here in Virginia, Scott, had shared my Glimpse link with some of his friends that he rides with, and they were headed to Texas for Moto America to see the MotoGP, and they passed me in Alabama going the other way on Route 20. And I saw them because these, I'm like, what the heck's going on? These guys were like waving as they were going by in the other direction. Thought that was kind of funny. Day 3, 318 miles. Total mileage from Austin so far is 995 miles. I woke up feeling the fatigue of the past few days, so I slept in an extra hour and had coffee as I was planning my day. What the heck, might as well hit up Barber Museum. I crossed into Alabama. I stopped for gas and grub, and I took this pic as I found it funny, a tattoo joint advertising on their truck. I hammered my way all the way to the Barber Museum. They had, really cool, they had parking right out front of the facility for bikes. In this case, a pasta scoot. One hero shot. I'm having one of the best rides of my life today, and making it this far has been an adventure. Very cool statues out front called The Chase. Anything Italian or Harley-Davidson got represented as best I could, so I'm going to flash through very quickly a boatload of pictures, so I hope you enjoy them. Barber Museum is unbelievable, plus they have a track there and they host events. On this particular day, they were racing Porsches, and the museum actually overlooks a certain part of the track, which was kind of cool. Just every bike known to mankind imaginable. If you ever have any place that you should go visit and you're a motorcycle enthusiast, Vegas. This is the premier museum, in my opinion, globally. Make it a point to stop and see this museum. Absolutely phenomenal. I posted a pic of the obligatory mileage turning 946 miles in commemorative of my beautiful scooter. So what can I say? I'm a geek. So I'm back on the road. I stopped to get gas before I quit for the day. Yup, I'm in the South, my peoples. Catfish plate every Friday. Broke 1,000 miles on the scoot at this point. Got her tucked away in front of the hotel, and a well-deserved Jack and Coke was waiting for me. By the numbers, my miles to date, 974 miles. Average mile per hour, 51 miles per hour. Maximum speed, 72 miles per hour. Driving time, 18 and a half hours. So my trip starts to take another turn for a worse. I make it onto the Blue Ridge Parkway at about 4:30 in the afternoon. I figured I'd get in an hour's ride, maybe 2 hours, depending on how I felt. I had a third of a tank of gas. It was all uphill, so I'm running out of gas quickly. I decided to turn back, and the nearest gas station was 18 miles away. 15 miles into going to get gas, I realized I left my backpack at one of the overlooks while I was dealing with resolving the gas issue. Oh, snap. So I turn around and I go back to where I left it, so I finally made it back, and it's dark out now, pouring rain, and the backpack was still there. Hell to the yeah. I couldn't believe it. A couple of gals were there cleaning up vomit out of their car. I don't know what was going on with that. They were certainly nice, and I mumbled something. They're still honest people in the world. So I'm standing there in the rain, and they're taking pics of each other, so I often take their pictures for them and take a couple of lovebird shots, and off I go in the dark and the rain. I'm wet, I'm cold, I'm tired, and I'm super annoyed at myself. So I'm cruising, I should say limping along at 25 to 30 miles per hour to the gas station to try and maximize what little gas I have left. A branch falls directly in front of me on the road. So this video is taking way too long, so that concludes part one. We're going to take a break here. Yes, I intentionally meant to leave it as a cliffhanger to see what happens with the log, and we'll get part two out here. This is getting way too long. It's almost a half hour of content, so we'll break it up into two parts. Thank you for joining me today. Here's my ghost dog, Bourbon. He's here to remind me to wrap things up. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you want to see more in the future, hit that subscribe button right down there in the corner. And remember, folks, go riding because it's good for you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.